Williams veers left, pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Hunzinger at Thunder Chats. We're part of the B-Weave Network, and this podcast brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Now that that's out of the way, very exciting podcast prepare for you because for the first time in 10 seasons, ever since it happened, somebody got brave enough, and they tried Steven Adams, man. You know, somebody tried to body up on Steven Adams, and it went about as expected, and we're here to talk about it. Now, obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in honestly dominant fashion in many aspects of the game, went into the defending champions' home in Boston and walked out victorious. And they did so while clinching the playoffs for the second time. The first time back-to-back seasons they clinched the playoffs is 2019. Now that I've talked so much, I just got to say that this podcast brought to you by BetOnline.ag, if I did not say already. But, hey, we got a quad pod. It's been a while since we've had a quad pod, and I'm excited to talk to our guys here. So first off, we've got Alex Roig. I mean, hey, he's throwing up the 4. He knows what it is. He's at the Bat Cave. Batman's it with us. What up, Alex?
What up, man? Just good to get that taste out of our mouth from the second Denver game, and deny the possibility of a 2-game losing streak for the Thunder. Because, I mean, if you're going to lose a game, this would be the one that everybody would kind of understand. But the Thunder still went into Boston and still got that victory, man. Still getting it out. So great job by them.
Absolutely, man. It's there's your first absolutely, man. But that's vibes are high. Vibes are high in Thunder Nation. So gotta go down to Tierney, our man with the wooden spoon. Haven't seen him in a little bit. Tierney, how you been, sir?
Good. Just I honestly, one of the best, if not the best, wins of the season, just with all the, different context of how this game, how we went into the game, how it went down. I think it's safe to say Shea has locked up MVP. I don't even know if Vegas has the odds anymore because it's just such a landslide at this point. But seriously, like a very, very good performance from him, from the whole team. A lot of guys stepped up. We'll talk about, but awesome game.
Yeah, and we got to get to the NBA connoisseur, Mr. Underdog himself. He's been on a hot streak. The man, myth, the legend, the Underscone, Connor. What up, Con?
Not much, man. Feeling good. Feeling great. Like I put out on Twitter, Thunder clinch a playoff spot. We are 7 wins away with 19 games remaining. I think it's 19. Or it might be 16, somewhere in that range. We don't have a lot of games left, but we only need 7 wins to clear the all-time record for wins in a Thunder season. We're probably going to hit towards the upper end of the 60s, depending how much we rest guys down the stretch. So we got a chance to also beat whatever the Seattle Supersonics set. I think they had like 64 or 65. So we'll see, man. But yeah, going to Boston, beat the defending champs, no Jalen Williams. They had no Kristaps Porzingis, of course. But even still, it was just a wall-to-wall victory and a lot of stuff to feel really good about if you're the Thunder, especially, considering that Boston probably is the favorite to be in the finals, the team that we would have to take down in a 7-game series to ultimately raise the Larry O.B. So yeah, a lot of things you got to feel good about after that game.
Yeah.
I will kind of piggybacking off of what you said. Like, if I was a Cleveland fan and I saw the telecast today, like, I would be completely like, they did not give any shine to Cleveland at all as far as being a contender to come out of the East. Like, they were basically like, oh, this is going to be this is the NBA Finals, possibility. No love for Cleveland. Like, I would feel some sort of way if I was a Cleveland fan.
Yeah,
honestly.
Boston's the favorite for good reason. They went to the finals last year, but I don't understand the people saying that Cleveland has no chance, man. I think Boston is really, really good, but also vulnerable, especially depending on what their health looks like. Because, KP's played about half the season so far. Right now he's dealing with that virus that they say they don't even know what it is, which is crazy. Also, I don't know much about like yeah, I was gonna say I don't know much about medicine, but it feels insane that he's like on the court chilling. I know with some viral stuff
it said viral infection. Like that's by definition.
I know with some viral stuff, like it can't be transmitted or something like that. I don't know. I don't know anything about diseases, or not diseases. Hopefully it's not a disease. I don't know anything about sickness. I'm not the medical person in my family. Everyone else is. But like, I don't know, man. It feels like if the Celtics last year, they were able to get through most of the finals run with KP injured. I don't think they could do that again this year. I think the East and just the top teams in general are better. I mean, Cleveland and OKC are far better than anybody Boston had to play last year. So it's a tall order. I mean, the Celtics are really good if they repeat. I'm not surprised, but they're not invincible. And I mean, I think the Thunder kind of showed that.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. After this victory against Boston, does this make the Thunder 19-1 against Eastern Conference teams or 20-1 against Eastern?
Let me check. I think
I'm good with either one.
Yeah,
the one is correct.
Got the one down.
Let's see. Thunder record against the East.
That was our NBA researcher.
We are now 22-1.
22-1, even better.
Yeah.
Wow,
even better.
Yeah, 22-1 against the East, and I mean that's gonna stay up there because I think we've played our games against pretty much all the best teams in the Eastern Conference. I know we've got
Pistons
one against the
up.
Pacers coming up. I know we got Pistons and Bucks the next two, and then I think it's like the Pacers, and then
we're pretty much done with the
the rest of the
ones.
season. It's Detroit, Milwaukee, Philly, Charlotte. So we've got like 4 of them out of the way next. Then Indiana, Chicago, Detroit again. And that's it. Like, I mean, there's a real chance if we can beat, especially if we win that Bucks game and that Pistons game, like those Pacers one's a little bit harder too, but like there's a chance we could finish with 1, maybe 2 losses against the Eastern Conference the entire season, which is absolutely insane.
We're going to be in attendance for, if my math checks out, 25% of our remaining Eastern Conference games.
Yeah, your math I think is right, man. That's why we call you Matty Maths.
Thank you. Yep, that's right. That's my name.
That's why we call you Tyranny.
There we go. Exactly. You beat me to it. I was trying to get it out, but I just didn't get there in time.
Yeah.
I picked up what you're putting down. But yeah, fellas, I mean, we can't bury the lead. I mean, obviously, like the world was watching. You know, this was the early matchup on ESPN. This is the second national televised game that the Thunder have played this week in the last 3 days. Both the national televised games went great for the Thunder. That's all I got to say. Yeah. We're talking about the Celtics game. Obviously, you know, it was awesome. We beat them. I forgot, like when I was looking at stuff and about this game, early in the year when we played in January, we beat them without Chet Holmgren.
Yep.
Jalen Williams had 10, 4 and 3 is what I sent in the chat. And we beat them by like, I think 16 points. Like it was absurd.
It was almost a carbon copy of that game.
It just,
where Boston jumps out in the first half, and then in the second half they get completely our defense. Just
this
down.
was one of we've had kind of that like light defensive slip as of late. This felt like one of the better defensive games we played. Now Boston also missed some good looks from 3, but we want to talk about keeping the Celtics away from the rim because they went cold from the outside. And with Boston, that happens sometimes. Like sometimes they'll be on fire and they physically cannot miss. I mean, we saw that against Denver where they couldn't miss against us the other night. Sometimes Boston can do that, but on nights where they struggle, they're also very capable of getting downhill and attacking the inside. They still shoot a lot of threes, and it's a lot harder for them to win when those aren't falling. But the big thing was that, I mean, we just completely shut off the rim. If you look at the shot chart, especially in that fourth quarter, like third quarter, they got a lot more getting downhill and getting down low into the paint, shooting 2s. And that's when they kind of started to build up a lead a little bit, and they ended up tying it, erasing the 3-point halftime deficit. In the fourth quarter, I mean, they only shot like a couple times around the rim. Chet was unbelievable. And I know we were going to do single large items. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it off with Chet Holmgren. Chet has been, he was so good before the injury and he's had some really good games since coming back. This was the best game. that Chet has had since coming back from injury. The Brooklyn game was also insane, but considering the level of competition in this one against the Boston Celtics, I mean, he was just absolutely everywhere. 23 points, 15 boards, 2 assists, only 1 block, but it felt like, I mean, a million altered shots. And specifically, it's him deterring guys away from the rim. Like, the Celtics weren't really willing to try him sometimes. Like, they weren't even going down low that way. And I think part of that is also a credit to Isaiah Hartenstein. Like, this is probably the best the double big lineup has looked the entire season. Those minutes with Shea off the court, whereas the double bigs out there anchoring, and shout out to Cason. Cason was also amazing tonight. Like, him as that lead ball handler, playing off of those 2 bigs, and it was like Isaiah Joe out there, Kenrich Williams, who was also great tonight, Isaiah Joe. I mean, they were just cooking. Like, they were just making things happen. It was Chet really taking advantage of the slow-footedness of Luke Cornett. That's a matchup we need Chet to go at. And like, there was that one time where he kind of did 3 like different pivots and kept pump faking, and then just the last one, he got him to bite, jumped into him, and got the free throws. You could see Luke Cornett clap, smack his hands. He's like, damn it, he got me eventually. It was just, he would do that light pump fake, and if the defender didn't put a hand up or start jumping, he would then just very quickly go up again and shoot it right over the outstretched arms. He attacked downhill in transition a couple of times, hit 3 threes, and I know we've talked about this on the podcast. The 3 ball looks better than ever for Chet. Like, the form is so smooth. There was that 1 3 shot from deep. Like, it ended up being a miss, but it looked like it was on line and on target. And I feel like last season specifically, there were a lot of times where Chet would shoot those deep threes and it was an air ball, or it was like way off to the side. It felt like he didn't quite have the range, like he wasn't getting the legs into it. The form wasn't quite consistent enough to get the distance he needed. But that was one where I was like, I thought it could go in. I mean, that was a really good miss to me. And having Chet be that type of weapon, being that floor spacer, playing off of iHeart, who again was also amazing tonight. The aggression from him recently, like getting down low and like just bullying into people with his shoulder, is great. I mean, you want to talk about the double bigs working. It worked a ton tonight. And with J-Dub out for at least this road trip, hopefully he's back for, when we're in Oklahoma City next week. But at least while he's out right now, I think it's going to be a really good experience and a really good moment for Chet to continue to get his legs under him, to continue to get back to the form we saw from Chet at the beginning of the season. And probably going to go unnoticed by some people. This is the 3rd game in 4 nights for Chet Holmgren. And he, coming back from injury, those Nuggets games was even the first set of back-to-backs. Never mind 3 and 4 nights. If he had sat, I wouldn't have been shocked. I mean, it would have sucked, but it wouldn't have been the most surprising thing in the world coming off those back-to-backs. He said, nah, I'm gonna suit up and I'm gonna go out there and be just an overwhelming dominating force. Like, legitimately no complaints about anything Chet did tonight.
Yeah, this was the best pre-injury. This was like a pre-injury Chet game, the first one we've seen since he's been back. And I think I texted you guys this in our group chat, but the lineup in the second quarter where they did the double big, it was Chet and Hart and Ooze, which was crazy. And then on top of that, shout out Ooze. He had 1 bucket that was great. I was like, he's getting there. He's getting there. But aside from that too, there was no Shea, no.
We say that every year with him.
We're saying,
and guess what? Those buckets are sick, Alex.
He's coming. He's coming. He'll eventually get there.
Basketball against the Boston Celtics, we've won. Okay, just calm.
Hey, Poku did that one game. So just remember that.
No disrespect.
Different Boston Celtics team, my friend. That was a different Boston Celtics team.
No disrespect to Ooze, but I do want to mention, and this, might be tangential to my potential single large item, but there was a moment in the second quarter when that lineup was on, when Ooze was in somewhat of a fast break, kind of gave up a decent mismatch on Peyton Pritchard, and then Cason went up on Luke Cornett, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. They seem to be in very different places in their confidence. So shout out Cason for that. Jing needs a little bit more work in that department. But getting back to what I was saying on the double bigs, that lineup surprised me because I went into that quarter being like, this is a weird lineup with not having Shea or Wiggins, like no seemingly good ball carrier, ball handler, and having Jing with those 2 bigs felt kind of clunky, but it just worked because they played through Chet and iHeart, and getting them touches deep in the post and not having Chet get the ball so high up on the key, as opposed to what they had been doing in Denver the game before, where I thought his touches weren't really in the right spots for him to really make a play. I think that was a big difference tonight. And it just sort of snowballed into him just having confidence. And yeah, like Cone said, I think the form looked really good. Also, the mid-range form was there's no hitch to it at all. Looked really clean.
Smooth.
Very smooth. So that was really good to see. So I think he's back completely now I think we can confidently say for the first time since his injury and what we knew he could be before his hip broke. So he's all the way back.
Yeah, and I know by necessity. I'll go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I know it was by necessity because Dub was out and we needed somebody to step up offensively. But it was really encouraging to see us utilize Chet because it kind of feels like he's been like a background player, these past couple games specifically. But with this marquee matchup, with needing somebody to step up with Jalen Williams, it was good to see Chet out there. And the only other thing that I kind of wanted to say about Chet before I kick it back to Alex is some of his finishes tonight, man, were just insane. Yeah. The angles, the body contortion that he had to do to get these finishes.
Using his length.
Yes. And using his length on that one-handed catch and gather for just a ridiculous finish on the pass from Shea. Chet was absolutely in his bag. And if he's playing like that, it's awesome if he's playing like that. And, Dub is providing half of what he provides. Like I said, we beat this team when Dub went 10-4-3 and Chet wasn't playing. If Chet's playing like that and Dub's playing like he has been playing and Shea's still playing at MVP level, that team's unbeatable. You can't do nothing about that. But yeah, I digress. Alex, continue.
No, I was just gonna say I was happy to see him take over offensively and be more aggressive offensively because since he's come back, that's been one of the things that we've kind of wanted to see or we're hoping to see as he eventually caught his wind and got back into shape, got back into game shape. And it was good to see that tonight. I think that's the next evolution or the next lesson and learning of this team is how to divvy up those possessions between SGA, Chet, Dub, because you have the makings of all three players being great on ball. And so, you're going to need them to step up and take, possessions here and there. And so learning how to balance that is going to be probably the next step of this trio and of Mark Daigneault as far as being their coach heading into the future.
Yeah, when Chet is playing at this offensive level, I really don't know how you beat the Thunder 4 times out of 7. If Chet is scoring like this, I don't think anybody can, to be honest. The only way you can slow, you've got to find a way to slow down this, because the defense is great with this team. The key is to slow them down offensively. But if Chet is this aggressive, if he's scoring the way that he is, he's hitting the 3 ball and the double big thing is cooking the way that they can. It's the vision with this team. It's just so dynamic. And again, tonight against a really, really good Boston team. And I do think Porzingis makes it more difficult, but I think the Thunder are a team that is kind of built to match up well with the Celtics. We have another one. There's that meme where it's to win a championship, you need a star, and it's Shea and Jason Tatum, and it goes down the list. It's a dude named Jalen. It's a skinny white guy, and it's Chet and Porzingis. A defender, and it's Drew and Dort. And at the bottom it says Derek White. Alex Caruso's on our side. Which, by the way, Caruso also not playing tonight. Not having him either. And I still think the Thunder's defense was awesome. So, I really just don't know what you do. And that's also the vision with this team long term. Is that Chet is only going to get better and better and more aggressive on that end. Chet, this is the rawest version of Chet we're ever going to see offensively. This is a Chet coming off a hip injury that took away most of his season, and he was still dominant tonight. There was nothing the Celtics could do, and it's just, if you want to see what the vision of this team is, if you're someone who's worried about the playoffs, because I've had people DM me, they're do you really think this could be our year? I think it was after the Timberwolves loss. I had a couple of people DM me are we going to be okay? Is this going to be fine? I'm yeah, guys, we're going to be fine. It's stop worrying about just one random loss. Yeah, it sucked to blow that lead, but I much more care about what we do against the Boston Celtics or what we do against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And going 2-0 against the Celtics is really hard to do. Nobody sweeps the season series against the Celtics. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, be very happy with this game, and especially the way Chet played.
I think piggybacking off that too, the defense, Boston's defense without Porzingis, I think was as good as it could have possibly been if you're a Boston Celtics fan. And I think where you look is with how Shea played today, because he didn't have a bad game, but he also didn't have oh my God, this is one of the greatest performances.
Couple of
from
those
MVPs.
buckets,
Some
though.
he had 3 or 4 highlight plays
Man,
that were
that
just
one-
like, if this isn't an incredible finish, the defense probably gets a stop there. So it's like,
Was it at the end of the first half, or at the end of the
that first
quarter?
half bucket. Yeah,
That was
I don't know.
there was a
That-
second half one too that was like, it looked like magic. I don't know.
Can I say something real quick? Also, did the commentary feel weird for y'all tonight?
Yeah.
Like
Dort
specifically,
is very clearly a Boston Celtics fan.
well, it wasn't even like that. It was like something would happen and there would be no reaction for like 3 seconds. I don't know if their audio was off a little bit, but like Shea hit that. Shea like fought for a midi with like a minute left and hit it and to kind of put the dagger in, and there was like no reaction for 3 seconds, and it's like then Mark Jones goes like, whoa, the master of mid-range. But it was like a very calm one. It wasn't like he was calling an NBA Finals preview. It was just weird. I don't know. I don't know if like their audio track was like unsynced from the visual, but like it felt like, you know, the ball hitting the ground and stuff, like the dribbling, that all matched up.
They're like on audio delay.
Because when Boston did something, they reacted.
Kind of, but I mean, there was even like one time where I think Tatum hit a big bucket, and then there was nothing for like 2 seconds. It was just, I don't know. It just felt weird. Like
They're on their
They were
phone.
like, for some reason, watching the audio delayed TV instead of the live action.
That's what it felt like, or it felt like they were like you know, refreshing like a box score, like play-by-play app, and then they get the notification. They're like, "Oh, this happened!" Like you're telling a friend. It didn't sound like
too.
I don't know. It was weird. Just something I wanted to bring up because I wasn't sure if I was going crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't. While you was doing that, I actually looked up. Do you guys know the other team that has currently swept the Celtics this season?
Oh, the other team that swept the Celtics this
the Cavs.
No, not the Knicks.
Did the Cavs do it?
It's
Houston.
a question nobody else has.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was racking my brain. I'm like, someone's really swept the season series against the
Could
Celtics.
have just kept going and see how long we
Philly
struggled.
For real?
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone even has a
Great podcast.
chance to do it.
Surely not many, because we've got like 15 to.
It's got to be a
left.
West. It's got to be a West team, and they have not caught a lot of L's. Sacramento could do it. March 24th, the Kings have a chance.
Sacramento.
That's
go
the team.
Go to 816 in the chat was saying Burke is very pro Thunder. I think she is in some cases. I think I know what you're talking about, Dylan. There were some parts where she like said like she kind of made like a comment about like a foul or no foul, and that's whatever. Like that doesn't bother me as much, but I think it's more or less, you know, when a commentary is in the home stadium, they tend to sort of like keep the energy of the crowd, so you get a little bit of that. But I also don't watch the commentary. I have it like on low, and I do something else because I honestly, it doesn't get anything from me. I could see that.
I do want a side quest real quick.
I think we're on a side quest.
Shout out to
right now,
Brian.
so we're just going all over side quests. I love this.
An alternate universe right now. Shout out to Brian Windhorst for, you know, carrying the narrative and looking at things objectively.
Yes.
Because you can tell everybody at ESPN is wanting to push some agenda as far as like Jokic or away from Oklahoma City or towards LeBron and Luka or whatever, you know, trying to push the narrative that way. And, you know, Wendy over the last couple of days has done a good job of just saying, what the hell are we doing? Like, we have this team in the West, the Thunder. We have another team in the East, Cleveland, that are dominating everything on their schedule, and nobody is talking about them. Nobody, you know, the only time they talk about them is whenever they face each other, basically, or whenever, you know, Oklahoma City's facing another MVP candidate in Denver. And I just want to give him an applause. You know, he was at Thunder Media Day, and I feel like he's one of ours now, and I just want to, you know, praise him at this moment just for, you know, for carrying the objective flag in NBA commentary and NBA narratives in the national media.
I can do the
So,
Windhorse
shout out to
fingers.
him.
I wonder if he was at the Thunder, you know, what the preseason. I wonder if he's got ins on like somebody in like maybe he's in with Shea, or, you know, like he's a big LeBron guy, so he always would like, you know, have a LeBron narrative back in the like Miami Heat days. I wonder if he's on the inside with the Thunder player.
Usman Jang.
He's clearly Usman Jang's rep now.
Yeah,
He's trying to get that message out there. So
he's the
some
Usman
food for
Jang
thought to digest.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I feel bad for Wendy because when the Thunder win it all, I'm going to have to use his tweets about nobody respecting the Thunder as receipts. And it's nothing personal against him. It's just he's the messenger that I'm going to have to unfortunately include in those. That I have a Twitter bookmark folder called receipts that is building up very rapidly.
Every Thunder fan should have that.
I have one called haters.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Just ready to just unleash. But no, yeah, shout out Wendy. It's also like he's consistent about it too. It's not just ESPN where it's like very forward facing. Like, Hoop Collective podcast is more of like an intimate setting, where it's more just like a conversation between him, Bon Timms, McMahon, and all that. And he's still fighting the good fight. So
Barkley.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that was the longest Chet Holmgren single large item I think we've ever had.
Good side quest, everyone.
Hey, if we take one more side quest, one wrong doesn't make a right, but 3 lefts do. So, if we make one more side quest, we can get right back on track. So I guess, Tierney, let's go to you, man. What is your single large item? Because I know you hate it when I go to you early.
Yes, I do. I have a few. I think I already mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again.
You have one.
I said I have a few. I said I had a few, and I'm going to go with this one. I said it earlier. To clarify,
right, cool.
Cason Wallace. I would like to shout out to Cason Wallace. The lineup that I mentioned earlier with the Jang, the 2 bigs, without Shea, without a quote-unquote expected ball handler, he kind of stepped up. He wasn't always the ball handler, but it's very clear his confidence, if he needs to be the one to execute and create something, is growing by the day. And like he's clearly making amongst, the non-Chet, Shea, and Dub players the most consistent impact. I'd probably say like the last month, to be honest. I know Wiggins was on that tear, but he's kind of come back down to reality a little bit. But I think Cason has been very steadily like the guard that is going to provide fantastic on-ball defense, especially on tonight without, Caruso and Dub. And then on top of that, now has been adding on to it, hey, I can be the one to go get a bucket. I can be the one to run a pick and roll. I can be the one that is directly in the offense. And then on top of that, he can play off ball and be a knockdown shooter, corner queso. He's been corner queso the last few weeks. So shout out queso. I think he is like quickly becoming, I don't even think I would call him a role player anymore. Like I know he kind of is, but he's like above that. Whatever the
kind of an X factor. Yeah. He's been upgraded to X factor.
I think that's the tier above role player. X factor. He's in that tier for me now.
He's come so far for Tierney from the days of Gate.
He walked so slow those first few pre-games. I will never not say that.
He was just warming up. I do want to say last 25 games for Cason, 9.7 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 3 dimes, 1.7 steals, shooting 50% from the field, 39.5% from 3, and 84.2% from the line. So
for his size, too, the rebounds are crazy.
He looks so much more comfortable with the basketball in his hands too, like creating for himself, creating with his teammates. He's much more decisive. He's not just like dribbling the air of the ball. If he gets it, he's not scared to make a move. Like he gets the ball and he makes a decision and he drives the lane, and he's attacking mismatches. He's attacking, just like normal matchups, with people that's guarding him. Like he's running pick and roll. He's taking dudes off the dribble. Like it's been so impressive. And showing up big tonight, man. Like, he had the 14 points. 8 of them were in the fourth quarter, including a huge 3 and a rebound to basically seal the game at the end of the game.
I think he had 5 straight. It was like that, and then another.
Yeah, then he had a layup after that rebound.
That was what kind of stealed it.
He had 5 straight. That's what made me tweet Cason Wallace as one of the most underrated players in hoops. And yeah, man, he's awesome. Even beyond just the rebound numbers, like his ability to just poke balls away or throw guys off and help lead to other guys getting offensive rebounds. I mean, the team's been a lot better on the boards this year, in part because now we have like iHeart, but it's also just the group effort that they put out there relentlessly. And Cason's one of those guys. It feels like he legitimately gets at least one, if not multiple offensive rebounds a night. And hey, man, especially when you're going up against the best of the best, you got to get those extra opportunities. So yeah, Cason's awesome.
Did he not get an offensive rebound? I thought he did, and I just checked and he didn't. I could have sworn he did. at some point today. I guess not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rebounding has been awesome. And I think it was Dolan who had the graphic. I don't know if he's been updating it, but the players 6'6" and under, like rebounds, I think it's like rebounds per game or whatever. And Cason at one point was just miles ahead of everybody. I would love to know what it is now, because I feel like
it is actually crazy. Cason is averaging over an offensive rebound a night, like at 6'4".
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Like that's actually
so happy.
That's
so
effort
cool.
right there. Yeah, he's been awesome. Shout out Cason.
Oh God, I had some fun.
Plus 13 on the night, by the way.
And I mean, we talked about, for the most part, we talked about his offensive game, but defensively, where this is where he butters his toast a little bit. He had 2 steals, 1 block, and he's just like completely frustrating for an offense that's dominated by the perimeter play. Tatum, Brown, Holiday, Derek White, Pritchard, all those guys that dominate the perimeter. Like, he's out there frustrating the hell out of them. And, for an offense that needs that, that timing to get their passes right, to get, on the inside, to get it into the perimeter, into the lane, having a guy like him and Dort and Caruso and Dub and, SGA out there. But for the most part, I thought he was, in the absence of a Luka-like player that Dort can guard, I think Cason becomes a lot more important for us in our defensive scheme, because he's able to switch more. He's able to, just provide that other kind of perimeter defender. That's not the bull. That's not, he's more skinnier. He's more, quicker, I think. And I think tonight his defense showed a lot brighter than did Dort's or anybody else's. So great offensive game. Great.
Yeah, what's great is, you're talking about the stocks that he had. He only had 1 block, but it goes back to Alex Caruso's appearance on the Young Man the 3. Like he said, he's blocked more jump shots in this season than I have in my entire career. And he did so again tonight. His block was against Jaylen Brown on a jump shot. And Jaylen Brown is a bigger player than Cason Wallace, and it doesn't matter. Cason's still rising up and blocking that. So, yeah, he's just a special, different defender. And when he can provide what he's been providing offensively, as Cone said, the last 25 games, like, that's a huge X factor to have on your team. So
he was on Brown. I could be wrong, but I think he was on Brown a lot of the night defensively. And Jaylen went 5 of 15, 0 of 5. And I kind of joked about it on the Twitter, but he fouled out, and I was like, "Is this even a good thing?" Because like Cason has been kind of locking him down. So that's those types of defensive impact nights. Like,
that's one reason I think the Thunder are a good matchup. Like the Celtics are a team that the Thunder match up well against. Obviously, they're still really good, but I think it's tough. Like, Jaylen Brown is one of those players that specifically is so good at hunting mismatches. Like, if you have a weak link defender on the floor, JB can target him and just relentlessly go at him again and again. The Thunder don't have that. Like, we don't have a weak link defender, really. I mean, there are weaker guys on the team, but even those guys hold their own, and the team is just so stout overall defensively. Like, one of the big things is they couldn't get Jaylen Brown the ball to do any post-up offense, which is something he typically does, because we were denying any and all entry passes. We're doing a great job of preventing those, or if he did, then, Cason's not getting moved off the spot. Lou Dort's not getting moved off the spot. We were doing a great job of bodying up, being physical, and that's one thing, too. I see people say, oh, the Thunder, this isn't going to work in the playoffs. I mean, we're an incredibly physical team, and that's what playoff basketball is. I think, if anything, like, the playoffs are going to benefit the Thunder, especially in a series against Boston. I mean, Jaylen Brown was really bad last game against us, too, and I don't think that's going to last forever in a 7-game series against the Celtics. He's going to pop off at least once, if maybe not a couple of times. But the Thunder are so good at specifically slowing down, him, and it makes it, like, Tatum was unbelievable tonight. Tatum was awesome, but it didn't really matter, because Jaylen Brown couldn't do anything because the Thunder were doing such a good job of shutting off his water.
You talking about Cason?
Yeah, talking about Cason.
Goat 816 saying extra muscle put on this offseason. It's paying dividends. Yeah, I mean, Caso's yoked. He's a big dude. Like, he's
thick.
He was already big too.
Yeah, and it helps out when he's being asked to guard up quite a bit. Like, I mean, when he starts, he's guarding twos, he's guarding threes. There are multiple times that he got switched on to the big, like it was a Cornette or a Horford or someone, and he's holding his own. There are times he's going to get back down and put in the weight room a little bit because he ultimately is 6'4", but he holds his own a lot better than 6'4" guys do. He almost reminds me of like Marcus Smart in a way, where Marcus Smart for all those years would play so much bigger than he was. And, you could get mismatches, but he was going to make you really work to get the ball in the basket off of that mismatch. And I think Cason has kind of a similar effect like that, where, I mean, he's an inch taller than Marcus Smart, but I mean, like it just feels like really nobody has the ability to consistently take advantage of him when you're like, oh, it's a mismatch, mouse in the house, like baby in the post, whatever. It's not going to happen consistently. Baby in the post. That's what they're saying.
Baby over here. Where'd this baby come from?
Yeah, they see Cason Wallace like, this is a baby in the post, and then he blocks their jumper. They're like, how'd that baby do that?
There's actually a 6-month-old child on the court right now. Someone get him.
Put on Cason Wallace's basketball reference page, baby in the post, please. Thank you.
Baby in the post.
Absolutely.
Nobody puts baby in the post.
Whose toddler is
There
this?
you go. Yeah, there was numerous times that Mark Jones was like, Tatum got the matchup he wanted, and it was Cason Wallace. And I'm like, you sure? And Cason was able to force a tough miss on him. So
Cason Wallace is never the matchup that you want.
Absolutely.
Cookie Monster
Never.
Queso.
All right, Alex, going back to you, man. Batman, what is your single large item?
I'm gonna go ahead and combine a bunch of players.
Multiple.
Say the others.
Tierney's doing
others.
multiple. Oh,
Hell yeah, Alex.
wow.
Hell yeah.
Well, hey,
Do it.
One. Few.
No. So I want to talk about the others, because in that Denver game in the second half, whenever we didn't have dub and it reached the end of the third quarter, heading into the fourth quarter. That's kind of, I mean, outside of Denver just going completely nuclear on hitting shots, but we were not able to keep up at all because we didn't have our creator out there. We did not have, J-Dub out there. We didn't have anybody that can handle the ball like that. And so I was a little bit worried about those non-Shea, non-Dub minutes coming into this game. So, whenever the first quarter ended, Shea hit that shot. We were up by 3, I think. At the end of the first quarter, I was like, okay, here comes those non-Dub, non-SGA minutes. And I was a little bit worried that, Boston would take advantage of that time, and they didn't. That was the time that you guys were talking about with Chet, with Hartenstein, with Ooze in there. Isaiah Joe came up clutch with some shots. You had Aaron Wiggins, who, although he didn't score, although he didn't have the Aaron Wiggins games of late, he was still a +8. He was still out there doing other things, playing defense. Kenrich Williams was amazing in this game. And you can kind of see, if a possible finals matchup with this team where Kenrich Williams would come in, clutch so much as far as being a small ball big, small ball 4. There was a play at the end of the game where he was out there. He literally guarded Derek White in the perimeter, and then he sunk down and guarded. I think it was Horford or I think it was Horford. But his versatility out there shone so much in this game, and it was just the others came in on a road game. Usually the bench doesn't travel. Usually the others don't travel. They say in the NBA, and they performed. The next man up to mentality. 0-0 mentality, however you want to, whatever Markism you want to say, came through in this game because those guys stepped up. Those guys stayed static, played great defensively, and did enough on the offensive end to keep the Thunder ahead. This was one of those games where you were watching it and you were like, oh man, it feels like Boston's up by they're up. The biggest lead for Boston this game was 2 points, and it just kind of felt like, that angst of waiting for Shea to come back into the game and waiting. And it was just like those guys maintained, they stayed static, and they did a great job. So, just want to shout them out in a game like this, whenever you're missing a couple key pieces, whenever those guys step up, especially with the caliber of opponent that we play today. I just thought it was very telling for how deep.
And I think that's something like some people say, oh, the Thunder need to consolidate a little bit and trade up for somebody. But part of the strength of this team is the depth. Like tonight was not Aaron Wiggins' night. He went 0 for 9 from the field, 0 points. He just couldn't buy a bucket. It was just one of those nights for him. And so Kenrich Williams played 22 minutes. He played more than Aaron Wiggins, and Isaiah Joe went up to 25, more than he's been playing recently. Ooze got in there for a few minutes. He played 6 and was really solid in that run. Like, not having Jalen Williams and still being able to win the non-Shea minutes by 3 against the Boston Celtics is huge. Like, that's incredible to be able to do that.
Yeah, with the trade talks, I think, if you like Cam Johnson, for example, a lot of the talks were, you got to package in like maybe Kenrich and one of Wiggins and Joe, maybe some other stuff for salary. But if you're consolidating those and you just kind of look back at where we've been since the trade deadline, we've talked about on this podcast already, but Aaron Wiggins blow up the last few weeks, like those are wins that we get strictly because of him. And then, tonight with Kenrich, I don't want to jump the gun too much on it, but I think if we're looking at the matchups in an NBA Finals potentially with the Celtics, I honestly think what Kenrich brought today is kind of like a dark horse sort of secret weapon matchup for us. I think he is like really good with how the team composition goes with the Celtics. If he can get, like kind of what he did tonight, 4 to 5 rebounds, a couple of steals, really good hustle on defense, hit 2 of 5 or 3 of 6, somewhere in that ballpark from 3. That's going to win you a lot of games because of when he's getting that impact on the non-Shea minutes. And like you said, Alex, when that started that second quarter, because Kenrich, as in addition to those other guys we've already mentioned, was such a big part of it. So it's that depth. They don't get highlighted on ESPN, and they're not going to be the focal point, but all of those guys, different points in different parts of the season, are going to stack up a lot of wins, and it's part of the reason why we're very close to clinching the 1 seed.
Yeah, and it's going to take those guys for us to go far, because
we
didn't see it a lot tonight just because Boston has very good individual defenders, but as we go down the final stretch of the season, as we get into the playoffs, teams are going to blitz Shea, once he crosses half court, and whenever he does that, there's going to be open guys on the wing, and we're going to rely on guys like Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, Usman Jang stretches, guys like that to knock down threes, and it's important for them to kind of stay in rhythm and to have the opportunity to step up. So I feel like every time Kenrich Williams' name is called, every time his number is called, he steps up in a big way.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about how good Kenrich Williams has been this season in his limited role with his uncertain playing time. There you go.
The YouTube list of viewers.
Yeah. Alex is flashing the Kenrich Williams photo.
Also, if you've been watching on, I just realized also if you've been watching on YouTube, live. I guess you don't have to watch it live. You've been getting you get a free viewing of whatever game Dylan has on in the reflection.
Game. It's just the reflection. Yeah. No big
deal. Don't DMCA YouTube, please.
It's just hey, they do it on TikTok all the time. So, all right. Anyways, yeah, the low hanging fruit, but I'll save that. I think that could transition to the MVP discussion. I want to talk about Lou Dort in this game.
Yes, Dylan.
MVP Lou Dort.
Talk about Lou Dort.
So hey, he had 13 points, 4 rebounds.
D point.
He ended up shooting 5 of 12, 3 of 8. But I'm not talking about the whole game. I'm talking about in the first quarter, first half. He had 8 points in the first quarter, 3 of 5 shooting.
First point.
First point. First 5 points actually. Hit 2 threes, and a couple of them was just almost borderline heat check. There was one I think he hit. What quarter was it? I think it was in the second quarter. Yeah, he hit a 3 where he hit it and he didn't turn around like Steph does. He just slowly started backpedaling. He knew that crap was going in, and it dropped in just like a teardrop. And he got most of his work done in the first half. He had 11 points in the first half, 13 in the second. His first point was the immediate after halftime he made a mid range, and he was kind of out of it offensively, but man, defensively, some of the stuff he was doing, and shout out Doris Burke because she was highlighting, some of the stuff he was doing. There was like 2 or 3 plays like within a stretch, one where he was guarding Tatum, and Tatum was driving, and he was kind of like on his left hip, and he realized that Tatum was throwing the lob to Luke Cornett, and he dove to like not actually dove, like just like dove to Luke Cornett and was able to tip the ball before he was able to collect it to try to finish at the rim. Like he went from guarding the guy to tipping the ball out of bounds. And then I think the very next play, Shea had turned the ball over. It went out of bounds. I think Pritchard knocked it out, and they got the ball side out, and they were inbounding it to Jason Tatum. And Lou just got his finger on it just enough for the ball to go off Tatum and force a backcourt violation. And like those plays were within like a minute of each other. And like those are just 2 plays on the night. And we talk about Jaylen Brown having a terrible game. We'll talk about the impact Cason Wallace had. Like the Thunder were switching a lot. So like Cason was on Jaylen Brown, but also Lou Dort was on Jaylen Brown. Lou Dort did a great job on Jaylen Brown. Tatum got his tonight, but Lou Dort made him work for every single bucket that he had. And, obviously, like tonight, he was cooking. The anomaly was the anomaly. But, like, over the course of a 7-game series, when you have a guy like Lou Dort just swallowing you on the defensive end, it's going to be kind of tough for Tatum, as, like, it's kind of wear down. Yeah, I know. Wording choice.
We're just gonna go by. Just no comment.
Just keep going. But it's going to wear down Tatum, as it goes on, because Lou Dort's a big guy. He's a physical guy. He's a strong guy. And he is relentless. Like he will chase you through screens. He will chase you off ball. He will face guard you off ball. Like he's get all up in your grill on ball. Transition. It doesn't matter. Like Lou Dort was a monster. I think I know that the depoy is like Evan Mobley and then it's Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dyson Daniels is getting a lot of love because of a steal. But in terms of just like I'm picking one guy to guard somebody tonight, it's probably Lou Dort in the NBA, and he I keep saying that.
And every player will tell
like,
you that.
That's kind of the problem I have with the depoy is because like why is that not the metric? Why wouldn't it be you pick one guy and that's the guy you want to guard in the NBA? Why is that not? I think this has been a discussion
very
before.
Hard. Yeah, it's very hard to quantify.
Right, that's the thing. It's like it's all about blocks, and there's arguments about that. But it's more of just the.
I mean, I think the only guy that's really won it that his numbers weren't necessarily stellar was Marc Gasol with the Grizzlies. But that was a year where the Grizzlies were far and away the best defense in the league, and he was the anchor on that team. Why that can't happen for us?
A historic defense by most metrics. So I don't know. But yeah, the thing you did mention that I remember it triggered a memory when that backcourt violation you mentioned with Tatum. That was at a point where there was a big like groundswell with the crowd energy, and that immediately took the air out of the room. That one, it was that one, and then also one with Isaiah Joe in a fast break where he like stopped and kind of shook off 2 defenders and got an easy layup.
That was nice.
Those two moments were like they took the crowd out because the crowd was like it felt a little bit like a playoff environment there, and kind of in the third. But that Lou Dort play to just cause a turnover and kind of swing the momentum a little bit was huge. Also, more on his offensive side, I know it's a little bit of old news. Basically from the start of last game in Denver, or I guess here in OKC against Denver, to the first quarter, through the first quarter of this game, what felt like some of the best offense I've ever seen from Lou Dort. Like I can't think of a different time where he played better. I think it was his career high in Denver with 3-pointers made.
8 threes,
yeah. 8 threes. Yeah. And then coming into the first quarter, it just felt like he was going to do it again. He kind of fell off a little bit, but yeah, it was still ended up being pretty okay, all things considered.
Yeah, love you, Lou. Hope you're doing well.
Hope you're doing
well. Man, 8 threes is nuts. I mean,
yeah, that was such a wild time.
Through the first half of this game, he had I think it was 11 threes over 6 quarters of play, which is just nuts from Lou. So Yeah, shout out to him, man. And I do think, like, I mean, the 3-point shooting with Lou, he's been going through some ups and downs recently, but the fact that, I mean, he's now one of the most trusted shooters. And it, like, I mean, the last couple of games, it's a lot of pump fake. Guys are jumping on that because they're afraid of the 3 now. Sidestep, reset, set your feet, knock down the tray. Like, it's not stuff Lou Dort was always doing in the past. It was a lot of catch and shoot. And if he was shooting that little sidestep 3, I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm a little bit worried about it, but
It's
I mean,
not in his rhythm usually. Yeah.
At this point, I kind of just trust Lou to hit those threes. And, you know, going into last year's playoffs, he's a guy they would, you know, consider sagging off of because, like, okay, we're going to make you prove it. I don't think they're going to make Lou prove it at this point. I think they're going to be like, do not let Lou Dort shoot a 3. And, like, I know we've talked about before, but think about where we were at one point. And it's like the whole reason he had that crazy game 7 is because the whole Rockets game plan was like, let Lou Dort shoot the 3 ball. And he went crazy. I mean, big game Lou, we should have known from day one. That's kind of the way he was, you know, that's just the way he's wired. And like, I mean, to hit 8th.
When I step onto a playoff court, I want SGA, I want Dub, and I want Chet. But the 4th player that I want out there is Lou. He steps up. For some reason, he just steps up.
Big game Lou Dort, man. They might not love the nickname, but I'm gonna keep pushing it, man. Big game Lou.
Big game Lou.
Yep,
put it in
shout out to the
basketball
Swaller.
reference page.
That's not going in.
I mean, we got the anomaly, the paradox. Dylan coined it.
Permanent sub. We have the permanent sub now
Yeah,
too.
we
Shout
have
out
the
Dylan
permanent
Jones.
sub.
Jeff the Land.
Permanent
Can we say
sub.
Jeff the Land Shark?
Come
on.
No,
I still don't know.
no, lose the Swaller. You coined it.
Swallower.
Fair enough.
Swallow him up.
All right. I just want to point this out before we go into our MVP discussion. Shay talking about Chet and how he stepped up tonight. So Dub's out, but Chet's that caliber of player. He's been taking a back seat role-wise because he's missed games. Hats off to his sacrifice. But with the absence of Dub, I knew he'd step up into that role very easily. So I'm just kind of acknowledging what we kind of all have seen and kind of grown frustrated with a little bit is Chet's been taking a back seat like on purpose offensively. So hopefully we get to see that utilization kind of spread out between him and Dub moving forward.
I think this time with the Dub out is going to be helpful for Chet, regardless of how many games it is, and you know, just give him more time to get his feet under him and get more comfortable back to where he was. Because again, with this version of Chet, I think this team is just unbeatable in a 7-game series. So yeah, keep giving him those reps. It's good to see.
Hey, so before
I was just gonna say, I think
sorry, go ahead.
based off what we've heard from the news, I think he's probably just gonna be back the next home game. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I don't think it's so funny. People just always interpret indefinite timetable as, oh my god, they're never coming back. Like
I also
they have
did
no
the same
idea.
thing. I freaked out online.
It's so funny because someone comments on the YouTube video I posted today and they're like, did you see Dub might be out for the season? And that was literally after the Shams report came out that there's no fear at all that he's going to miss any significant time. Also, Dub, if he gets injured and he's like kind of worried about it, it's like going to keep him out for a little while. He does the whole thing. Like, you know, he blacked out his Twitter that one time. Like,
IG.
yeah, he's just, I mean, he's still posting like clips of him watching the game on his Instagram story and stuff. I'm not worried at all. He's fine.
The word
Here's the thing. I think they're using the hip as the excuse. I think this is more a couple games to rest that wrist.
might be it.
Yeah.
They also can't be allowed to use the word indefinite. It sounds too much like infinite in my head, and that's I think what the problem is.
Yeah, indefinite is scary. Like, you know, you love to hear this many weeks or day to day or like we'll reevaluate next week.
Numbers.
Yeah, indefinite's a little bit scary. It reminds me of like when I was, you know, doing calculus in high school and I was like, what the hell's going on?
And nobody knows how to do that stuff.
Yeah, you know.
Infinite sign.
Exactly. I'm not trying to find the derivative of the injury timetable. I'm good.
So before we move on, just a couple things on this game before we, you know, head into our next topic of conversation. There will be a narrative on Twitter either tonight
it's already
or tomorrow about the discrepancy in free throws.
Don't know ball.
67%. So before you dive into that, 67% of the Celtics shots were threes tonight. You're not going to get a lot of free throws if you are shooting 67% of your shots as jump shots from deep. You know, we still had Shea. He was still driving in. And so that's where a lot of our free throw attempts were going. Was he foul merchanting, you know, a little bit tonight? Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean, that's just gameplay when it comes to going against a defense that is just keying in on you. So there will be talk about that. Just know that you cannot, you will not be going to the free throw line a lot if you're shooting 67, 2/3 of your shots from three. And so that's that part is
pop quiz.
Is
when do you think
man.
the Celtics made their first 2-point basket to this game? If you haven't already looked it up,
I know when it was, so I won't say.
It was in
the second quarter, and not only that, it was a goaltend, which was also kind of funny. But you don't get free throws if you take 60+ threes, which is hilarious. That is their franchise record, and they are the Boston Celtics, who are known for taking so many threes.
I want to real quick. All time, where do you think this game ranks in terms of 3 shot, like by a team in a game?
It's got to be. Is it number 1? Because I mean,
it's close.
It's
very close to number 1.
It has to be 5. Up there. They're the 3-point shooting team, and they broke their own record.
It is the 3rd most ever in a game. And the only 2 teams it's behind were 2 games from the 2019 Houston Rockets, who shot 70 in a game.
Those hard.
They shot 70. They shot 68. And then this one's 63. Fun fact, tie with them is the 2021 Rockets. And the game from last season by us. Can y'all remember what game that was? We shot 63 threes in a game.
I feel like I have a vague memory of this.
It was near the end of the season?
It was, I guess not that. It was February 4th.
I feel like we lost
of
this
last
game
year.
Too.
It was a game we won, but it was a weird game.
I don't know, actually. I thought it was a
loss. I can't remember it.
Dallas? No.
It was against a bad team, and it was a game where Giddey was our leading scorer, if that helps you remember it.
Bad team.
Memphis?
It went to double overtime.
Blazers?
No.
Dang. That's what
I think we did have a weird game against
the Blazers.
Eastern Conference.
I don't know.
Hornets.
Yeah.
Wizards.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wizards. Pistons.
Pistons?
There's naming bad teams in the West.
Y'all are in the range. Y'all are in the range. You're just saying like every team but this one.
Every team but the bad ones that we haven't named.
Yes, Hawks.
Were the Magic? No, they weren't.
It is the Toronto Raptors.
The one bad East team.
It was the Raptors game that went to double OT.
That's where Shea got blitzed the whole game, wasn't it?
Yep. It was the super weird game. Giddey had 24 points. He led us in scoring. Dort had 5 threes. It was a weird game. Dort was 5 of 12. Chet was 4 of 10.
Oh, he got it.
Queso was 2 of 7. Shea was 2 of 5. Giddey was 2 of 6. Wiggins was 4 of 11. 4 threes from J-Will. 3 from Micic. 2 from Kenrich.
Wow.
0 of 2 for Ooze, and then 1 of 1 from Thunder legend Lindy Waters. But yeah, I was not expecting when I looked at that list to see us tied at 4th all time in threes in a game. Yeah, Elsheimer got in the chat. Yeah, it was the Raptors game.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I mean. Like when teams blitz Shea, that's why those wing players got to be ready. They got to step up. And Caruso's going to be another guy that's that's going to be stepping up there for that too.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But also reference for people, first half the Celtics had the most threes in a first half ever. They shot 36.
Yeah,
so not only did they finish with the 3rd most threes ever, I mean at halftime they were on pace to shoot the most threes in a game literally in the history of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So
16 of their first 18 shots were threes. That's unbelievable.
They had 2-point attempts
in the first
quarter.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That is stupid. Hey, so and one more thing before we leave out from this game is if we do meet in the finals, I do want to prepare everybody because this is not how this team is going to play us. They didn't blitz Shea at all. They did not trap him at all. They allowed him to get into the lane to get his shot, and so I think Boston kind of held onto their cards a little bit in this game.
I don't think Boston will blitz Shea that much. I think they trust their one-on-one defenders enough. I think they'll try it for sure, and they're going to throw us different looks. But I think down the stretch of games, I feel like tonight is. I mean, we did such a good job offensively beyond Shea. They played amazing defense on Shea. I felt like it was just kind of Shea hit tough buckets. This game felt a lot like Game 4 against the Mavs last year, where they guarded Shea incredibly well. He just hit ridiculous bucket after ridiculous bucket. And so, if you're with Boston, you kind of got to live with that. I think with the trapping, it might get too much for them. So I think we will see that for sure. I think anybody we play in any series, we're going to see that trapping. They're going to try it. But especially if Chet is scoring like this, I just don't think teams can afford to do it. Which is great. I mean, that is the buster, because people were worried in that Minnesota game. They're like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do when teams blitz Shea? It's all over. Well, it's Chet Holmgren being like this. It's Isaiah Hartenstein, being effective. It's the double bigs working the way that they did tonight. So there's plenty of counters. And we've seen it a lot since the Minnesota game, when it was like, teams are going to start trying this. And I don't think a single team has been very successful blitzing Shea at all since then. Like, maybe Denver last game was the most successful, but that wasn't the reason they won. It was because they literally couldn't miss any shots from three. So.
And Dub was out.
That's true as well. It's funny. You guys, Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Celtics, he used to play for West Virginia in college basketball. Back in 2010, he played the Kentucky Wildcats in the Elite Eight. And the first half, they scored 28 points. West Virginia did. They hit 8 threes and 4 free throws. And the second half, they didn't make a single three. And all they did was just attack the lane. I thought that was about to happen tonight, because obviously they went nuts from three in the first half. And like their first 3 buckets were just like physical drives at the rim. I was like, oh no, it's happening again.
Kentucky PTSD. Sorry, man. Don't worry, Dylan. They didn't have Jack Golke over there.
Oh, yeah.
Thunder legend. Shout out to him.
Yeah. I don't even know where he's at now. I think I saw that he was on a G League team, but I think he might have got released again.
Yeah, he's not with us anymore, unfortunately.
Let's see where he's at.
Well, we got to know where Dawson's Creek's at all times.
You know who is on the blue? Forget it. Now I'm blanking on the name because I'm tired. Hold on.
I was like,
Ryan Cormac, UNC legend.
Cormac Ryan.
Legend. Golke's on the Pistons G League too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, shout out him. All right, fellas. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss the player that we kind of left off of this recap and branch off into a larger discussion right after this break. And we are back after that break. Guys, we talked about the Thunder's victory over the Boston Celtics, but we left out a very pivotal player to this game, and that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We'll talk about the past 2 games in Denver as well, but tonight, 34 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, shot 11 of 20 from the field, 2 of 7 from the 3-point line, 10 of 11 from for the free throw line, and just absolutely was like in takeover mode. But you could tell from jump that how locked in Shai was. He had a couple looks at the rim, absolutely broke Jaylen Brown off with a behind the back snatch back, then drove in the rim with the double clutch on Derek White. Like, as soon as that went in, it's like, okay, like Shai's literally about to pop off. And he had some really tough drives, tough finishes. He had one where, you see guys kind of do like the up and under from one side of the rim to the other. Shai he almost like triple clutched the layup in order to get it to go in. Had some sick middies, of course. Had the catch and shoot, I think in the second quarter. And let me just say, if Shai gets his feet under him, if he sets his feet, it's over. Like, it's going in. Like, I wish he would get some more catch and shoot 3-point looks. Also had a really sick step back 3. He was just cooking in all facets. In terms of like the whole free throw merchant thing, there was one play that happened that I was like, okay, like that was a little bit egregious. It was when like Peyton Pritchard, I don't even think he had his hands on him, and Shai kind of fell back and shot the ball with no whistle. And I was like, all right, that one I'll give you, but the other ones, Dort even talked about it. Like, okay, like what are you supposed to do? Like, you have your hand over his arm, like you have 2 hands into his chest. Like, is it like, marginal? Sure. Like, is he selling it a little bit? Sure. But like, if you're not going to be disciplined as a defender, the ref's going to call it. But anyways, Shai had a monster performance. This is his second monster performance on national television in the past 4 days. Tierney kind of alluded to it at the start of the podcast, but it feels like after these past 2 games, if he hadn't already, it feels like Shai had already locked up the MVP. just kind of open up the discussion, guys. Obviously Jokic had the game that he had in the second game against OKC. He had a really good game also the first game in OKC, but the second one was not on national television. How do you guys feel about the MVP race? Is it even a race anymore?
I feel like it's still a race because Twitter and media pundits won't stop dropping the I guess the narrative that, if you're going, the narrative that Jokic won MVP 3 times already, and this is even a better season than any of those 3 years, without necessarily taking into account the fact that you have a player that is leading a historic team and doing historic things, and he is the unquestioned leader of that team. And so, and with that, it's not just like he's a guy that's just, scoring 26 points, but he's leading the league in scoring. He is, by all accounts, as great on the offensive end as he is good on the defensive end, which cannot be said about Jokic at all. There are two parts, there are two sides to the court. And so whenever you take all that into account, regardless of how good of a season Jokic is having, SGA is having a season on par with the Jordans and the Kobes as far as his position and as far as his output. And so, kind of just like based off of that, I think he is deserving. Is he deserving of unanimous? No, not at all. Like, it should be close. But I do think that Shai should win MVP because he has been the best player on the best team that is historic. And so that's kind of my thing when it comes to Shai and MVP.
I personally think it's over. The odds are, not crazy or anything like that, and there's still definitely discussion. If Shai doesn't win, I'm going to be stunned. Just thinking off of where MVP races have gone in the past, like it's going to have to take the Thunder collapsing over the next couple of weeks, and Jokic is putting up insane numbers left and right. It's what he's always going to do, but Shai is continuing to keep pace. I really think the only way it could end in Jokic's favor is if for some reason the Thunder start to lose a bunch of games and Shai looks terrible and Jokic is playing insane and the Nuggets keep winning and they shorten the gap a little bit. And even then, I just don't think voters are going to look at. And if you think Jokic should win, 100%. I think that's very valid. Obviously, I think Shai should win. I'm biased. I think a lot of people don't realize that they are also biased. The most disliked video in the history of my channel was the one I put up the other day where I said that the MVP race was probably over with Shai winning. I've never had a video with that ratio of, let me see actually where it's at.
On the bias thing, I think if you have an argument and you can't admit that you have some bias, I think we can't really have an argument about the MVP.
So on average, my video is for example, the one I just uploaded, 98.9% likes to dislike ratio, or 98.9% of those interactions, likes and dislikes, are likes. The video before the Shai one, 97.8, 98.3, 98.6, 98.8. You kind of get it. That one's at 80.7. It is significantly lower than any other video I think I've ever uploaded. People are very passionate about this. I mean, people really want their guy to win. But I think if you're saying that Shai doesn't have a case like some people are, you are lying to yourself. It's not just because of voter fatigue. I put together a whole tweet that I went through in that video that, it's the net rating of this team is one of the greatest of all time. And the win total is going to end up being one of the greatest of all time. Chet missed a majority of the season. Ihart missed a lot of the year. The net rating of the lineups without the best players on the team are unbelievable. I know Dylan saw that tweet from Carson over at Nerd Sesh that he put together. A great tweet with the net rating of, Shai with Chet or with Jalen Williams or with both off. It's crazy. Yeah, it's not even pluses. It's plus 28, plus 30. It's way beyond the best net ratings of all time. Because the numbers aren't as gaudy, I don't think people are realizing the way that Shai is elevating this team. I don't think people realize it. It's a very talented team. That's why they're the favorites to win the Western Conference. That's why I think they're going to win the finals. Everyone's team doesn't have to suck for an MVP to win. But this team is not anywhere near historic if Shai's not on it. People are like, oh, the Thunder would still be a playing team if Shai was there. I don't think this team is a playing team if Shea's not there, because the whole system has to change. He is the engine of everything we do. It's not quite like heliocentric offense, but it's damn close sometimes with Shea, how everything operates through him and just the way that he impacts the game. I mean, it goes far beyond, and that's why we have advanced statistics, which people love to use usually in favor of Jokic. But I'm seeing it less now because they're in favor of Shea. Like, his EPM is above him. His estimated wins is above him. He's pretty close to box plus minus. He's pretty close to Jokic in terms of offensive EPM. The defensive EPM is not even close. Like, all those stats will tell you, advanced stats will tell you that Shea has been the best player in the NBA this season. And for some reason now, I'm not seeing those advanced stats anymore. Like, it's just, Jokic has an unbelievable case. He's having one of the greatest seasons ever, 100%. But so is Shea. And I think right now, with the difference in the standings, with how a lot of voters have said that they, looking back, were like, maybe I should have voted for Shea last year. And also just the way that it's built up in his favor, I don't think it's possible for Jokic to win this award. I don't. I think the MVP race is over. People might think that it shouldn't be. For sure, you can say that. But I think, like, straight up, it's just over. Which, by the way, do y'all know the biggest gap of all time between a 1 and a 2 seed in a season?
I'm going to guess 9 games.
14 because you started with 4.
Yeah, it's 14. Yeah, I kind of threw it out there. It's 14 games, and it was last year's Celtics. We're 14 games up on the 2 seed. Right now, if Denver holds the way they are right now, they're losing to the Timberwolves. They're down 14 at the moment. If they lose, they're going to be 12 games back. If we keep playing the way that we are and the Nuggets slip at all, and like the Lakers, they're going to be without LeBron James for a little bit, like, there's a chance we finish with something close to the biggest gap ever between a 1 and a 2 seed. That's not just the Thunder being like a better team and having more wins. Like, sure, the Nuggets will be the 2 seed, but like 12 games is nuts. That's crazy. And Chet missed most of the season. I just don't think people are wrapping their heads around it because of he's not grabbing a million rebounds, and the dimes don't quite match up. But like, I mean, you got to look at a lot of different stuff. And I know people are going to say, and I've thought about this, like, oh, well, then how come Russell Westbrook won over James Harden if, like, Russell's putting up these numbers, but James Harden's doing that? The difference is that Jokic has a legitimately good team around him. It's, I think the Thunder are overall a better team. But people are acting for some reason that Jokic is playing with bums. He's not. Jamal Murray's really good. Michael Porter Jr. is really good. Aaron Gordon is a high-level defender shooting 40% from 3 on the season. Like, yeah, the team has their flaws. They're pretty weak in terms of depth. And Jokic is elevating them 100%. But I don't know. That's one of my least favorite things about the MVP debate is that it feels like people feel the need to just rip apart their star player supporting cast to, like, build a guy up. I promise you don't have to do that. Like, you just don't.
There's this weird, like, double standard that happens, not just like the MVP, but like any argument you have with any like 2 things that you're comparing, where if the narrative in a certain sense doesn't fit your criteria, you conveniently neglect to leave it out, because there's a lot of different ways that you can look at the Shea versus Jokic, and you can spin it either way depending on your perspective. But there's also some, like, inherent parts of the MVP race, and I think pretty much any MVP race in any sport, that you have to factor in, which is a narrative and the sort of way the context from which this MVP is coming from. And for starters, like, we've been saying it a lot, how this team operates and how they are built is around one guy, Shea, who is doing all of this historic stuff. I don't know what it is now, but we've been touting for a long time that their net rating was on par with the prime Michael Jordan Bulls, the Tim Duncan San Antonio Spurs, like historic teams. And then defensively, you see similar metrics and historic teams as well. All of that is like part of the context of the MVP race. Yes, it is a single player award, but it is factored with the team. And the other bias about this is that this has been a building thing for Shea, where we've been seeing this trajectory where up to last year we started to see people recognize him. He got the MVP nominee, and had all of that recognition. And so this is sort of primed for him now if he took the step from last year, which he has, to take this award. Jokic is playing like statistically out of this world. If you only look at numbers, if you only look at points, rebounds, and assists, then yes, Jokic would probably be the MVP. There's more to it than just those three numbers on a stat sheet. There's more than just, comparing how his players are doing off the court number wise versus Shai's players, how they do off the court and on the court, because it all is in a larger context and narrative, and you can't boil it down to like one black and white thing, which I think the reason people do is because on Twitter and social media, that's a lot easier to do. It gets clicks, it gets views, and so people do it. But if you really want to have like an actual conversation about the MVP in general, you have to look at like the gray area and say there's a lot of things that factor into it. And I think we've kind of highlighted most of them up to this point. So yeah, I agree. Like I don't think it is like locked up. I think you could find a scenario where if for whatever reason, I don't imagine why, but if Shai suddenly started playing horribly and the Nuggets were awesome, that I think is the only case you could see it. And I think would not expect Shai to win. But if everything is trajecting as it has been, I have no reason to believe that he is not only going to get this award, but like he actually does deserve it. And again, there's bias. I think you have to say that if you are having this argument. If you don't, that's kind of stupid. Yeah. You shouldn't be having an argument, but he is deserving, in my opinion, of that.
I had someone comment on my video and say, last thing. I had someone comment on my video and they were like, it was literally like Nuggets fan something or like Denver sports for like an account like that. And they said like, why would I listen to somebody wearing an OKC shirt about the MVP race? I'm like, dude, your account name is like, it was literally like yeah, it was like Denver fan something, or there's another account that did something similar. It was like I think they had like the Serbian flag as like their YouTube logo. I'm like, y'all, I am biased. I will readily admit that. Like I obviously, yeah, you got to admit your bias as well. Like we are both biased, but I can also present a full case in a 12, 13-minute video or whatever for my take in addition to my bias. It's just, you got to admit that. It's the way sports are. You can be objective, but you're always going to have some bias in there.
Yeah.
And I do want to throw this caveat out there. Shai's numbers are muted by the fact that he hasn't played in like 16, 17, 18
He at one point had the most points per game in 3 quarters. That's crazy.
Exactly. Like if you want to talk about crazy stats, just take those, let's say 15 games and add, 10 points per game, and you're adding, you're talking about a guy averaging like 33, 34, 35 points a game, which hasn't been done in a while. You're talking about Harden, and then before that, you're talking about, I think, maybe Kobe, but before that, it was basically Jordan. And so if he would have been able to play in those games, if they weren't as dominant as they are while he's on the floor, then his stats would look a lot more eye-popping. And so, that has to be considered also. Like if you're taking into account everything, you have to take into account the fact that he has played so many less minutes than Jokic because of that.
And Tierney, it is Shai right now on the season, or Anthony Edwards is the second leading scorer in the NBA right now, 113 points. Shai at the moment is leading the league with 2097. It's like not even close. But yeah, 17-13 for Anthony Edwards. Shai through 3 quarters this season, 17-67. So about 54 points more than anybody else has scored in the NBA on the whole season in just the first 3 quarters of a game.
And you could also do the same thing if you take out at one point, again, I don't know if this is up to date, but if you took out all of his free throws, it was the same thing. Again, that's one number, right? This is all pieces to a puzzle. And if you just point at one thing, he's like, that's the reason he's MVP. Like that's not totally correct, but we're putting it in a context of a bigger picture here. So anyway, Dylan, sorry that you were about to say something.
Oh, you're fine. I'm used to being interrupted. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
The lead SM actually tweeted this out. It was Friday. I think it was me and Moles that talked about it. But at the time on Friday, obviously this has changed a little bit, but at the time on Friday, the league leader was Shea. Second was Shea through 3 quarters. Then you have Ant, Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson. 6 was Shea without 3-pointers. Then you have Tatum, Giannis, and then at 8th is Shea without free throws, and then 9th is Cade Cunningham. Like, leads the league in 20-point games, 30-point games, 40-point games, 50-point games. And again, all the third quarters he sat, like he could even be in the 60-point games in some of these situations if it was. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. Shea has like traditionally been one of the clutchest players in the league. Like he's hit 1 or 2 game winners like every season, like going back ever since his first year in OKC. He hasn't had the opportunity really to do that much this year because our games have been over by the time the end of the third quarter hits or, you know, early in the fourth quarter. And like we have a comfortable lead. Like Shea doesn't get the opportunity to, you know, kind of have those like cornerstone moments for his MVP run. And, you know, he has these performances, these highlight performances. And of course, like those are huge. But he doesn't have like that kind of one shiny moment MVP, like that game winner to throw on there. Like NBA like tweeted out, you know, hyping up the matchup tonight. You know, Tatum and Shea's like biggest plays in the clutch this year. And like all of Shea's happened like earlier than a minute in the game. And there was only like 3 occasions. And one of them, they even put like a clip with like 5 minutes left in the game, which I was like, all right, man, what are we doing here? And Tatum had like multiple like game winners, like overtime clinchers, like all these types of games. Shea doesn't have that opportunity, you know, to like provide, you know, those highlight plays. So I think that kind of sticks out as like a disadvantage in the voters' mind. But yeah, man, I 100% echo what you guys are saying. Like if Jokic wins, he absolutely deserves it. I mean, what he's doing is phenomenal. What I think there is to note about it is Mike Malone was kind of asked about it, and, you know, credit to Mike Malone and Jokic, you know, they were very complimentary of Shea, saying that if he does win it, he absolutely deserves it as well. You know, as we're saying with Jokic. And Mike Malone was like, you know, if you look at both players and you don't know the one guy won 3 times, like that guy's winning 99.9% of the time or whatever. And, you know, somebody asked him, okay, well, are you including wins? And he's like, well, the one time Nikola didn't win MVP, we was number 1 in the West. It's like, yeah, you had a good team. You were number 1 in the West. Like, what Shea is doing is a historically great team. A historically great team when he has had Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe. Like, all these guys have missed time, have missed at least 4 or 5 games. Or Alex Caruso as well has missed at least 4 or 5 games in this season. And Shea has been the one constant for Oklahoma City. And just the consistency. He doesn't put up single point performances. He doesn't put up single shot games. He doesn't do any of that. Like, he is consistent. I think he's had 60 straight 20-point games at this point. I saw NBA tweet out. He hit 10,000 points tonight in the first half. Mm-hmm. And I actually saw that he hit 10,000 points quicker than Kevin Durant did by
that was crazy.
13 games, which is
That's
just
so
absolutely nuts to me. Like Kevin Durant, a guy that
he
we consider one of the best scorers ever.
Yeah, like immediately was one of the best scorers in the league. Like it wasn't even a slow burn. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Shea is having the best OKC Thunder player season ever.
I do want to say that 10,000 points is 10,000 points as a Thunder player. Because he already reached 10,000 points earlier this season.
Yeah, that's.
It's just even so crazy because first season he averaged like 19, like he was the one he scored the most, but you know we went to like Chris Paul down the stretch a lot of the times, and Gallo was there, and then he averaged like a few kind of mid-20s. But I mean, this is only his third season averaging like 30, which I mean is a lot. But like, yeah, I mean to pass KD in that regard, and we talked about before, he's going to become the third guard or the only guard other than Jordan to have 3 straight seasons of 30 plus points per game, shooting 50% plus from the field. The defense is there. I mean, Shea is like such a clear like MVP candidate at like the highest level. I just think people are, you know, not really internalizing what OKC is doing. I think it's a classic case of people aren't realizing history until, you know, we look back on it. And I've been feeling that a little bit recently. Like I've seen a lot of, for some reason, James Harden like film pop up on the timeline recently, and I feel like I didn't fully appreciate at the time what he was doing because of, we were in the Russ Harden MVP battle, and then we were like, oh, we're rooting for the Thunder, and the Rockets are like one of our rivals or stuff like that. But like some of the clips I'm seeing in that, man, I can't believe how much hell Harden at some of those defenses in. Like, I mean, there were literally players like guarding behind him to prevent him from getting to that step back. And I mean, it's the same type of stuff with Shea. Like, players are like, they were literally sending 2 players across half court the second Shea gets the ball because they were so scared that Shea is going to just put them in hell. Like,
I went ahead and looked up the updated odds, just to see where we're at. I first want to mention the clutch player of the year because I believe Shea was the he was the front runner preseason. And I just want to see if you guys want to take a guess, if you haven't checked, what the updated odds for Shea are. And just to give you a little perspective, you've got Trae Young here at like plus 550, obviously a good clutch shooter. Jalen Brunson's up here. Where do you think odds-wise Shea is on the clutch player of the year odds according to this sports book?
It's like plus 10,000.
Yeah,
he's not listed because he doesn't play in the clutch. That's because he doesn't play in the fourth quarter. That's kind of crazy. The MVP, though, is also, I'm pretty surprised at these odds. This is like a pretty reputable sports book I'm looking at, so I'm pretty sure they're like right on it. Where do you want to guess?
It's not BetOnline.
It's definitely BetOnline.ag.
It's definitely BetOnline.ag, the most reputable odds. But where do you guys think his odds are for MVP right now? If you had to take a stab at it,
minus 650.
I don't know how to gamble, but I'm guessing like plus 450,
minus 600, which I thought was really.
That one too.
I thought it was going to be like minus 300. To be honest, I didn't think it was going to be that high.
I'm gonna tell people like after that game, there were people tweeting me like Cone, is Shea's MVP case dead? He's going to win it. Like, I'm gonna guarantee you that now. If Shea doesn't win it, I'm going to be genuinely shocked. It is over at this point.
It's also just like, because I'm also looking at this. Jason Tatum is third at plus 50,000. It's been set for a while that it's those two, but I don't know. I wish the perspective online, it never will be because it's the internet, but I wish it was more, hey, these two players are both individually having some of the best seasons ever played in NBA history at the same time. That's awesome. That's really cool. And instead, it's just like, here's my guy's better than yours.
If only, tyranny. If only.
I hate it. It sucks.
Man, that's
that utopia
we
you want
don't love
everybody
each
to live
other.
in.
We don't love each other, please.
Yeah. If only.
Yeah.
Hey, so Shea wins MVP after the next game because he'll be at his 65 game threshold.
There you go.
Set the rest of the
season. There's that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
We'll also be trying to break a trend of like MVP winners don't really win the title. It doesn't happen very often. So we're trying to buck a trend there. Last guy to do it was Steph in 2014-15.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been, about a decade. To every 10 years, an MVP goes ahead and wins the title.
Let's be that one.
Yeah, let's be that one.
All right, fellas. Well, as I mentioned, Shea reached 10,000 points as a Thunder. Got to point out that caveat. As a team, we'll do as a team on this one. Since everybody's kind of tired, it is late. I actually got to be up in like 4 hours for Nova's surgery in the morning, so that's awesome. But we're listing 5 players, the top 5 players in terms of points scored as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we'll go around in the circle of our square. So we'll start with Alex.
Is this all time?
Yeah, this is all time. And do it in order. I want you to challenge yourself. 1 to 5.
It's no Sonics,
so number
right?
1. So
no Sonics in this one now.
Okay.
So I'm starting with number 1. Okay.
You are correct.
Russell Westbrook.
Sir.
Wow. Good job, Alex.
What you got?
Look at him go.
Hey, thank you.
Going to Steve. What is
me?
it?
It was me. It is Kevin Durant is going to be next.
Good job, Cone.
Correct.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, Mr.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Steven Adams. I don't know.
Bro.
I don't know after the top 2. I'm sorry.
We were literally just
Shea?
talking about him.
It is Shea.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You have your picture above you. Yeah, I mean, you guys lose the game, so
No, we don't. No, we don't.
No, I'm not included. They're ball knowers. I'm
Alex,
more than
what is
there.
number 4?
Mulligan.
Number 4 is real tough.
I am going to say Sergio
That is correct.
Ibaka.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good
Number
job,
4
Alex.
was 6,054 points. Cone, can you round out the top 5?
God, bro, I don't know. Like Harden definitely didn't play enough. Steven Adams definitely didn't score enough.
All right. That's good. All right.
Like Lou Dort's not had enough time. J-Dub's not had enough time. Chet's not had enough time.
It's all about longevity.
Ooh, Tierney.
I mean, yeah, at this point, you're
Tierney, it
looking
might
at
be
those
all
players.
about longevity. Is it Nick Collison?
It is Nick Collison.
Tierney.
You're welcome.
Look at you. See, you are a ball knower. Look at
I
you.
just
go.
pulled that out of my ass. I didn't know if that was going to work
Well,
or not.
you didn't say the name, but I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
I just said the most obvious thing. I think it's all about how many years you were there.
Steven Adams is actually number 6 in terms of the scoring.
Damn. Look at Steve-O go.
Nice.
Yeah, man. We've had a lot of stars here, but a lot of in and out. Like,
Yeah,
2-3 year
like,
at the most.
I was part of me was thinking PG for a moment, but I was like, I don't think he played enough. Like
Nah.
he averaged almost 30 that one season, but that only gets you like 2,400. Like that's not gonna get you on there.
Yeah. All right, and as a little bonus game, again, you guys can work together. Can you name the top 10? And I'm going to give you guys collectively 3 strikes. This is including the Seattle Supersonics.
Including the Seattle Supersonics.
So Sean Kemp,
that left shrimp.
Gary Payton. Detlef
Shrimp
Schrempf.
is not in the top 10.
Every answer I give is
He's not in the top 10.
That was
So ass,
number
dude.
15.
Lenny Wilkins.
Oh, Lenny Wilkins is not in the top 10. He's 19.
Rashard Lewis.
You have 1 strike left.
Shard
Yes,
Lewis.
he's
That's a
there.
good answer.
Ray Allen is not in the top 10. You lose. He's number 14.
We went too quick. Darn
Yeah,
it.
I don't
It's
know.
fired from the hip.
Yeah.
Got Russell Westbrook, Gary Payton, Kevin Durant. I think this is Fred Brown. Jack
Fred Brown.
Downtown Fred Brown.
That's him.
Jack Sikma, Rashard Lewis, Sean Kemp, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Gus Williams, and Dale Ellis.
I made a whole ass.
Gus Williams, the NCAA commentator.
I'm not sure.
I made a whole ass graphic
Maybe it's
once where it showed.
Just says
those.
Williams, all right.
You know those bar graphs where it goes through time and it shows like how how numbers progress and all the bars move. You guys know what I'm talking about. I did that for the Thunder history of points from Sonics to whatever it was like 2021. Now I can't remember any of them. Like I should have known like 9 of those and I had no clue. My memory is awful.
That was your moment.
One of my
Remember
favorite
when-
Thunder stats is that, including Seattle Supersonics, Lou Dort has the 6th most threes in the history of this franchise. And if
Wow.
you don't include Sonics, it's Russell Westbrook. It's Kevin Durant, it's Russell Westbrook, and then it's Lou Dort.
Just
That's
those
crazy.
3 together.
Yeah,
Hand
man.
in
And,
hand.
hey, bro, he's not that far behind Ray Allen. He's 165 more, so he's not that far back.
I love
Start
that.
building the statue.
Well, I just want to say before we end the podcast, we are now a week and 2 days. Actually, I guess it's Thursday officially. We're a week and 1 day from our Top of Thunder fan event.
Man.
With over 100 of our closest friends. You still have time, I believe. I think you still have until like midweek next week to secure a ticket. So we have upper end of tickets left. They are $16. For $16, you get in the game. You get to go down to the court after the game, take photos on the court. You get to take a half court shot for a chance to win a basketball signed by the team. We're all going to be gunning for that. Cohen's going to shoot at least 100 half court shots tonight before at our Top of Thunder media runs.
I'm shooting them tonight in my apartment in New York City.
Yes.
We'll just
I have a
lob
half
them up.
court in
Throw
my
'em at-
apartment right now.
Yep, throw them at the roof.
just chucking them out the window, people. But yeah, if you want to be a part of this, and you absolutely want to be a part of this, it's gonna be a great time. It's against Charlotte Hornets. They've been playing fun, but hey, this is a historically good Thunder team. That's the team you're gonna see. We don't care about the Hornets. You're gonna see the Thunder, and you're gonna see us. But find the link at our Twitter at OKC Top of Thunder. It is in our pinned tweet. Follow us while you're there. And yeah, got to get those tickets fast because it's going to be a great time. Details are to come on that. We'll be meeting up at the parlor beforehand at 1, I believe. And then we're going to be looking at doing Top of Thunder open runs that Saturday afternoon. Still working on time, still working on location, but it will be an outdoor court somewhere in OKC as long as the weather holds up. But yeah, if you think you got game, you think you can handle us, come on out to the Top of
Which,
Thunder.
by the way, I want to say thank God we've moved it from January because like the weather next week, it's going to be 66 Wednesday. It's going to be 62 Thursday, 65 on Friday. That's the farthest they'll let me go on the iPhone weather app. But oh my God, if y'all were there last year, you remember that day where the day of the meetup and it was like literally 4 degrees out. It was
so
awful.
cold.
So thank God we made that switch, man. Thank God.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see you guys, man. It's a week for us. Actually, it's 6 days for us that we see each other. So it's gonna be an absolute blast. It's gonna be cool to see you guys. It's gonna be good to meet Dolan. And you guys can all be a part of it. Just buy the tickets. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a great night. God bless, hoop when you can, and as always.